Hi, this is Future Rosie. Before you watch this video, I just want to give a content warning and also a trigger warning that in this video there are lots of sensitive conversations around mental health, mental illness, meltdowns, restraints, and lots of other sensitive topics surrounding mental health. So if any of that is going to be triggering or harmful for you, please do click off and do not watch this video. The other thing I wanted to say is that everything in this video is based on mine and my family's experiences, so it won't necessarily be the same for every family who has a child struggling with mental health. This is just us sharing our own experiences in the hope that it might help somebody going through a similar thing.
Hi, I'm Rosie. This is my mum, Julia, and my dad, Jan. A few weeks ago, I put a question box on my story to see if there were anything you guys wanted to ask us about our journey, because I'm autistic and struggled with my mental health since I was like 12. So obviously I have a recovery plan, and I think you don't often hear from the parents' perspective. So I wanted to give them a little bit of a platform for that. Okay, so I basically got the questions that you asked and I'm going to ask them. Hopefully they can manage with the microphone, but we'll see. Okay, so someone said, I'm not sure what my question is exactly, so bear with me. Something about how do you share with Rosie that your struggles are impacting you, if they do, in a way that doesn't make it sound like a burden? Mum, you can go first.
This is quite a tough question, really, and I think with hindsight, the best way to share with Rosie that what's going on is impacting everyone around her is to wait till after the struggle or the incident or the meltdown when things are much calmer, and then approach Rosie about the situation and talk with her calmly about it. It's pretty impossible to do in the moment. It's only after the event that Rosie does know that her actions impact her whole family and everyone that she interacts with, but you can't discuss it at the time. You have to wait, pick your moment.
Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely when it's all calm. There's no point doing it in a meltdown anyway, because I won't be listening. So, yeah. You'll go.
I wouldn't choose to share the impact that it's having on the family with Rosie. I think she would know, and she sees the aftermath of after a meltdown and sometimes damage that's been done. She knows that the family is going through hell with her, and I would not want to mention it to her to compound that on top of her other struggles. I wouldn't want to guilt trip her. So yeah, I would not discuss how it's affecting the family with her.
I think that is a difficult one because you definitely do know that your struggles are having an impact. So
I just want to add to what my husband said there. It is a really tough choice as to whether you sort of ever discuss it, and I think where we are with Rosie now is that she is very much aware of the impact that her struggles have on the family, but there has been a time where things were much more difficult than they are now, where perhaps even if she did know, she didn't really care. And
I don't think it was that I didn't care. It was just that
weren't able to care.
I thought I wasn't able to.
Yeah, and I definitely do recall times where when things were calm, we would sit in your bedroom and talk about, what had happened. And I think really it's important to do that from the perspective that it's about what can we do differently next time so that things are maybe better or easier, or we recover more quickly, so that we can learn from what we've gone through.
Yeah. Okay. Ready for the next question?
Yeah.
When you found out how much I was struggling, what was one thing, like what's a piece of advice you would give on how not to react?
When I first found out that she was, can I say self-harming?
Yeah.
Yeah. I was shocked inside, but I didn't show her how shocked I was. I honestly didn't know how to deal with it, so I just kind of told her off and told her to stop without really realizing the whole reasons why she was doing it. I would say don't show that you are shocked, because I think that tends to guilt trip the child even more, and it doesn't help.
There's so much that I would do differently with the benefit of hindsight, but that's easier said than done. And I think that in the moment when you first find out that maybe your child is self-harming or isn't happy or is struggling or whatever the situation is, as a parent, as a mother, I certainly reacted probably how most people would have expected me to react. I was devastated, and I wanted to do everything I could to make it better, put it right, fix it. And I think with hindsight, the best advice is to listen, really actively listen to what they're saying. You know your child the best, but when you hear something that really can shock you, I panicked. I was upset. I was mortified that this was going on and I didn't know anything about it. So I think it's really important to be there for your child and to listen, and it's not even about understanding, because I don't think at that time that you do understand everything that they're going through, that there isn't an understanding. So the only piece of advice I would have is to let your child know that you're there for them, that you love them, and actively listen to what they're saying, and to give yourself a bit of a break and just know that it's okay that you can't fix this. It's enough that you're just there for them at that particular time.
Yeah. From my perspective, the thing that really came across was anger, and it wasn't helpful. But now looking back, like obviously as a parent, you can feel however you do feel about it. You can't help that. But I just think it's about how you communicate that and how you react to your child's face, if you know what I mean. Because the anger, because you're not doing something wrong, you're just struggling and doing what you can to cope. And it's difficult. Okay. The next question is, what was the defining point in your daughter's illness that helped you understand mental health or mental illness? You go first, Mum. Sorry, Mum.
There isn't a defining point for me, to be honest. I think it's just been such a journey, and I certainly feel that because of what we've been through with Rosie and what Rosie struggles with day in, day out, she has educated us about mental health and mental illness and how it impacts her, but not just her, but obviously through Rosie's recovery channel we've learned an awful lot as well. So for me, there isn't one moment that helped me understand it. It was there's lots of things that happened which made it really, it was so clear that there were lots of struggles with mental health, mental illness, but it was just learning, as we went through the journey together as a family, and being really, for me, in particular, as I said before about being a fixer and wanting to sort things out, I definitely went into the mode of, finding out as much as I can about what was happening and what might help and what therapies were out there. So it was, I think it sort of set me into that mode of just finding out about things.
For me, there was no one defining moment. It was more of lots of incidences that kind of snowballed and snowballed and snowballed. And it reached a point where I knew that we as a family, we were out of our depth. We didn't have the tools to deal with this, so we did our best with what we knew, which wasn't always right. Sometimes you don't have to try and fix it. Sometimes you just have to be quiet and listen. Just let your child talk. It just escalated and it kind of got out of control, and that's when I knew we were in trouble, deep trouble, and we couldn't fix it, so we needed help from outside.
From the professionals.
From the professionals, yeah.
I think maybe there is, I might be wrong, but I think there's maybe a level of acceptance, because even though things can get better, it's the person that's struggling that has to make the decision. So as the person who's on the outside, I maybe just have to accept that you can't fix it for them.
No, I would agree with that level of acceptance. That level of acceptance has to happen for everyone who's involved in the family. It certainly did in our family unit. And I think the thing to be aware of is that different family members accept and cope with what's going on in different ways. And you know, and it may be that you don't want to know what's going on and that's the way you're trying to deal with things, or it may be that you want as much information as possible and that's what helps you cope. That's certainly the way in which I coped. And then when I wasn't able to help Rosie myself, I then, you know, went into battle with with CAMHS and the council and the school to get us, not just Rosie, but us as a family, the help that we needed.
Okay, are you ready for the next one? This one is a bit different. So this is about my autism diagnosis. So what advice do you have for other parents of children who are being tested for autism?
Wow. I think if you've got any concerns that your child may be autistic, we weren't aware that Rosie had autism until she was 13. We always thought Rosie was a bit quirky and a little bit different to maybe other children, but she was thriving at school and doing very well. She did have friends, or a friend, only ever one friend at a time really. And while she was thriving and seemed to be happy and we were managing well as a family, that was fine. Autism didn't come, it just wasn't on our radar. And for us, we didn't go down that route until Rosie was at secondary school and the wheels came off and things went downhill very quickly for her. And then it just became really evident quite quickly that we couldn't wait for CAMHS to go down the route of testing. So we went privately. And I think if you've got any concerns, I think you do have to talk, if you can, to your child about it, because not every autistic child may want to know at that time whether or not. And I mean, we did talk about it because it's quite an intense test, so they need to be on board with it. To be fair, to want to go and participate. So we went down the private route. And it was about 2.5 hours, wasn't it, of testing?
Yeah, so it was 2.5 hours for me, and then you had a separate section as well, and then there was an online section as well, and then the forms. Yeah,
it's quite intense. So I think you really need to all be on board as a family to go down that route, and to want to know want to know the answer, and for it to potentially be helpful. To get, and often that getting that diagnosis is, the sort of marker in the sand, really, for getting the help that your child might need in education and in other environments. So I think for me, the advice I'd give is, if you've got a bit of a, as soon as you've got a little bit of a gut feel that things might not be quite right, or why they're struggling as they do, or why things are happening at home that aren't happening at school, that sort of thing. I think it's about, talking to your child and then getting the support that you can, whatever way you can. And, sometimes that's really hard to do.
What about you, Dad? Closer.
Same as mum, but I'd like to add, if you do have any concerns that your child may be autistic, I think it is in the child's interest to actually get them tested ASAP, because it would help the school to manage the child, rather than thinking that the child has just been naughty or awkward, and then they can put provisions in place to help your child at school, knowing that they are autistic.
Yeah, I agree. I would say that if you have the means to do it, definitely pursue the diagnostic process, because it doesn't make a huge difference. Doesn't necessarily change the struggles, but at least you kind of know what it is you're struggling with. And also to find a community, because I thought that all of us, like, our situation was completely alone, but since I started sharing it on Instagram, there's so many other families that have gone through similar things. So I'd say definitely pursue it. Okay, this one is really, 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 really deep. So, how does it impact you to have your child attempt suicide?
This is a really difficult question. Not difficult to answer, because it just impacts everything. Every piece of you is touched by this. It's really, really tough as a parent, as a mother, as a family unit, to go through this with your child or family member.
For me, it is hard to talk about, because what happened to us as a family was, I think, was the worst thing that could ever happen to a family. When the shock of it all and the trauma of it all, you tend to push it to the back of your mind, because it's such a horrible part of your life. And to go back now and to try and remember how I was thinking at the time, it does. It can break a family. Everyone is on edge constantly, 24/7. Just life stops. Life stops. You don't laugh anymore. You don't have a good time. You don't want to go out. You are just all consumed in keeping the family going and your child safe in the best way that you possibly can. And it was hard, really hard.
Yeah, I mean, I could see the impact that it was having on everyone around me. And I did feel guilty about it at the time, and I still feel guilty about it now. But at the time, I think the guilt just wasn't enough to stop me doing it, because I just wanted to, I didn't want to struggle anymore, even though I could see the impact that it was having on everyone around me. So, I mean, I know it impacts everyone around the person struggling hugely in every way.
And I think one of the things I'd just like to say for any parent who's going through this, I mean, we were, as a family unit, in crisis, no doubt about it. it had got really, really difficult, and you start questioning everything about yourself, about you as parents, and what you could do differently, and that it's your fault, and that if you hadn't said this or done this or shouted at them, or then it would never have happened. And now we're out the other side of it by not saying there isn't struggles and that there won't be struggles in the future, but we're sort of quite a long way. That's a long way in the past for us now. It's only now really that I can be kind to myself about it, and I do know that as parents and as a family unit, there isn't anything we could have done at the time to stop what was happening. There really wasn't, and that is such a difficult thing for any parent to accept, that they can't put this right for their child. They can't stop them feeling how they feel. And I mean, if it does happen, more than once, the thing is, you do learn to just be there, for them, and listen, and it is one of the most difficult things to do. But it's in that moment, for them knowing that you are there for them no matter what, and you're listening to them, and that you love them. The hope is that will be enough in that moment to change things for them.
I also think it doesn't just affect everyone in the direct ways that you think. It's even little things like the relationships, and like all the relationships in our family were virtually falling apart. Like, it felt like the only time that we had contact with each other was always to do with mental health stuff, do you know what I mean? Or meetings, or that. We didn't just do like family days out or take the dog out for a walk. It was all...
Or if we were doing that, it was to cope with...
Yeah, like it was always tainted.
Yeah.
Okay, there's 2 more questions left. So, Dad's going first on this one. You've been a bit quiet.
Okay. I'll do my best.
Okay. So, how do you take the brunt of anger, or I guess conflict, in a meltdown for Rosie?
How do I take it?
Like, how would you manage the conflict, I guess?
Knowing what I know now, it would be totally different. What I would do now is I wouldn't be as restraining, if that's the right word.
Yeah.
Restraining, because I didn't know what else to do at the time. I was frightened, really scared. I couldn't see an end to it. So I was desperate. I was a desperate man. We were desperate as a family, and we were all doing our best, but we didn't know any better, really. So with all that behind us, now I would handle things differently. I don't think I would get angry now, because I know it's not her fault. I wouldn't get angry. I wouldn't be blaming her. I would just let her know that I'm here. I'd be quiet, and I would be loving, and I'd give her hugs and everything if she wanted hugs. But I wouldn't try and fix it and get angry and restrain her from running out the house and doing silly things.
Yeah, I think avoiding restraints is very important, unless it's obviously like 100% necessary for the person's safety, because it is traumatic for everyone involved. Yeah. Mum?
Yeah, I agree with what Jan said there, really. I mean, I even can remember dealing with the first meltdown compared to the last one, how we were more likely to both stay very calm and let things run their course, and we would just make the environment as safe as possible for Rosie and us. And I think, but I to be really honest, I think that's just something you can do when you understand what the meltdown is for your child and how it's going to. Each meltdown can be different and last for different periods of time and involve different things, and Rosie may need different things to help her end the struggles that she's having sooner. And we did get to know that a bit more, and we had some skills. We'd learnt some skills that we could use to help Rosie manage the situation. But there's a point with a meltdown where you actually want to do what you can to avoid or lessen it, rather than be in it and then try and stop it. Would you agree, Rosie?
Yeah, I think if you can prevent it, that's better than trying to manage it.
And but to be able to prevent it, you have to understand it. So you have to have been through several to know the triggers and the signs and what's happening.
Yeah.
And then, I think as a family, all of us have got, we pick up on what's going on with Rosie and the situation and the environment she's in, and try and you remove those triggers or lessen them. Deflate the situation.
Yeah.
Or suggest that she goes to a space where she can do what she needs to do to recover.
Yeah.
I think that's the best advice, isn't it?
Yeah, I think staying calm is really important, because otherwise you can feel the situation and make it worse, even if it's not intentional. So yeah, I think stay calm and try and de-escalate the situation, while obviously keeping the person safe. Okay, so that's the end of the questions. I feel like everyone's got a sigh of relief. I just wanted to, this is my question, do you have any last words, any words of advice or encouragement for parents of kids or family members who are going through the same thing?
Whilst we were in the thick of it, I couldn't see an end to it, or I didn't see it ending well. So I was kind of mentally preparing myself. I don't know how. Try and seek them the best help they can get. And it does work. It does work. I wouldn't have said that 3 years ago, but it's a slow process. And when the child is ready to engage with treatments and therapies, it starts to chip away, and gradually, so now we are on the other side of it. I never thought we would get this far, if I'm honest, because things looked really hopeless for a while. But hang in there and just give them your last ounce of love. Let them know that you're there for them. You don't have to try and fix it all the time. Just let them know that you are there for them, and the thing will just play out, hopefully. We were lucky. Some people aren't. So, yeah, just hang on in there. Do your best, I guess.
Yeah, I would echo what Jan said. I mean, you will just hang on in there. Don't ever give up hope. That's something that Rosie's team said to Jan and I when we were at our lowest point, that there is always hope. Things always change. They're never the same person a month later, 2 months later, 3 months later. So it's about sticking at it with them and getting them to the next day, the next month, sometimes the next hour. It's sometimes you need to just break up your support into real small chunks to get through it all. But there is just one additional thing, and I think it's just not to be ashamed of what's going on in your family and the effect that it's having on you as a family unit or on your child, and to seek as much help as you can from family and friends. Because for us as a family, we were at our lowest point, and yet our close family members and our close friends were incredible in the situation. They gave us a huge amount of support and provided, respite to Rosie's younger brother, you know, when things were really tough, and a lot of support to Jan and I, and I think it, you know, it was really hard sharing that with family and friends at the time for various reasons, you know, but it for us it was the right thing to do. So I would really urge you to do that sooner rather than later. If you've got a support unit, a support network behind you, it makes a big difference.
So piggybacking off of what Mum said, I think definitely not being ashamed of it, because I think there is a lack of education and a lot of people don't understand. Like, a lot of our extended family might not have a good understanding of it or are not educated, but the vast majority of people, if you have that kind of support network, they want to help and they want to understand. So, like, they're empathetic even if they don't 100%, you know, they want to be there for you. They're not judging you, and they're not just gonna, like, you know, shame you. They're not thinking like that. So I think in general people tend to react and be more helpful than you might expect them to be. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for answering those questions, and thank you for asking the questions as well. I hope the responses have been helpful for some of you. And yeah, that's the Wilger family over and out.